welcome back to Rugged Mountain Homestead. My name is Sarah, and just like every day, there is a lot going on up here in the kitchen today. So, I'm going to be making Stoneground Mustard. This was something that I was extremely intimidated by in the beginning, but I made it once. Dean liked it. He likes things a little on the spicy side without using horseradish. So I tweaked the recipe a little bit and wrote it down and came up with something he really loves. So I thought I'd go ahead and share that with you today because he is like low. He only has like a quarter of a jar left. So I need to get this made for him. So let's get started on the mustard. And if you would like to try this yourself, I will be leaving this recipe down in the description box. So first we're going to take half a cup of yellow mustard seed. Now you're going to want to take a quart jar. Any quart jar will do. And you're going to have half a cup of yellow mustard seed. We're going to pour everything into this quart jar. You're also going to have half a cup of brown mustard seed. Now, I have refill for yellow, but I have not been able to find brown yet. I got this quite some time ago and paid a hefty price for it off of Amazon. And I'm hoping I don't have to go that route again. Anyway, here's a half a cup of brown mustard seed. And we're going to take 1.5 cups of apple cider vinegar. Now I get my apple cider vinegar from Azure, but I go ahead and I put it in a bottle that's more manageable for stuff like this. But the reason I always shake it up is because I get the organic apple cider with the mother in it. And sometimes it can kind of settle to the bottom like sediment. So I just always shake it up first. So we're going to have 1.5 cups of apple cider vinegar. And 2/3 a cup of water. Now 2 teaspoons of salt. I'm using sea salt here. I have never tried it with any other type of salt, so I can't really say what it would do. Probably nothing. I use sea salt for our table salt. I don't know if iodized salt would be any different or taste different. I just don't know. 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Dean likes garlic, so my garlic is always a liberal teaspoon, or however much it's calling for. And 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. I do measure this one out pretty carefully because it is on the spicy side. And 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. The same with this. Measure carefully. So I'm just going to take a small spatula just because having the apple cider vinegar and the water and the spices in there, I don't like seeing those clumps at the top. So I just kind of make sure that it's thoroughly mixed. Not super duper, but just so that there's no spice clumps at the top. Okay, now I'm satisfied with that. So we put our lid on. You're going to put it on loosely because you don't want to put it on regular. There's apple cider vinegar in here, and you don't want pressure to build up from the gases because then you will have a mess. So I just put this on, just like dropping it on very loosely and just barely twisting that, just maybe to get it over the first thread. That way the gases can still escape through the little bits of space. And then all you're going to do is set this aside for 24 hours. All right, so that is it. 24 hours, let it rehydrate. And we will come back and see what this looks like tomorrow and finish it off. Good morning. It is now the next day, and I have lifted the lid off of the jar. And as you can see, our mustard seeds have rehydrated. So before I get started, I'm going to make sure that I have ground mustard, a spatula, and some measuring spoons. And this is so simple. All you're going to do is either into a blender or food processor. I'm going to use my blender just because my food processor has a couple more intricate parts and I think it'll be more difficult to clean. Anyway, so I'm just going to take the contents of the quart jar and pour them gently into the blender. I should probably put an apron on for this. Okay, much better. All right, let's just make sure to get out all the seeds. Although it may be tempting to help you get them out, do not add any water or anything like that. Just try to be patient and use your spatula to scoop them out. If you don't get every last little one out, that's okay. The majority thing is to get the majority out. Okay, once you have the contents of your quart jar into your blender or food processor, you're going to add 3 tablespoons of ground mustard. Now this is just all relative to how you want your mustard, how thick you want it, the flavor that you want it. So what I typically do is that I start off with the 3 teaspoons of ground mustard. I know that I'm going to add more. That's just because the consistency and the flavor that Dean likes it. So just put your lid on now. And you're going to mix it. I use the mix function on my blender just because it starts out more gentle. And I think I would probably use the lowest setting on the food processor as well. So, here we go. Okay, now I'm going to check for consistency. That's pretty nice. I'm going to unplug it while I do this. I always get just a little freaked out by it. Okay, that's pretty nice, but it's still a little thinner than he'll like. So I'm going to add 1 more teaspoon, and I'll just do it one at a time until I get it to the consistency that we like. Checking again. Now I did move up from the mix function to the blend function on my blender because as it gets thicker, it makes it harder for just the mix function to really work. Ooh, it's pungent. Yeah, I think we have it. Okay, let you have a look. And he likes it pretty thick, not super thick, but yeah. And it is easy as that. So now at this point, I'm going to jar it up. Now you can definitely can mustard, and when I'm making a lot, I typically do. I'll usually double this recipe if I'm going to plan on canning any. Dean goes through it so quickly that normally what I do is I just take a pint mason jar and I put the mustard in there and put it right into the fridge for him to use. I do have a little bit left in there, probably enough for an 8-ounce jar. So I'm going to put this other pint jar back, and I will then put it into a half pint jar, and you can can this or you can put it directly into your refrigerator for use, but I will probably can this one. And there you have it, folks. It truly is as simple as that. Now you have 16 ounces of homemade Stoneground mustard. I don't know why I was so intimidated by it in the beginning, but I was. And now it's the easiest thing for me to do. Just like I'm intimidated to make hamburger and hot dog buns, but I'm gonna put it aside and I'm gonna try the hamburger buns today. So I'll let you know how that turns out. So thank you for joining me in the kitchen up at Rugged Mountain Homestead, making Stoneground mustard today. I look forward to seeing you next time, and until then, take care.